Susanne, let me start with you. Maybe you can give us a brief introduction on Wirecard. What is your business model? And later on, we dive deep into your cooperation.
Thank you, Julian. And I think what you have just said before, everybody knows the name, but nobody really knows what Wirecard is. So Wirecard is one of the leading payment providers. What is a payment provider? Our customers are mostly merchants who work in e-commerce. And once you pay in e-commerce, then the money needs to get from your bank account, from your Sparkasse or Deutsche Bank bank account, somewhere to that merchant. And the merchant doesn't do all of that on his own because his business is to sell the goods, but he uses a service provider to handle, on the one hand, the technology, because it has a lot to do with security, but also to connect to so many different payment methods, from a credit card to a direct debit or some payment per invoice, and then also to handle financial streams. And this is what Wirecard is doing, and not only in Germany, but on a global level, helping the merchants to get the money safely without risk across the world.
So a payment service provider globally, but established here in Germany, a nice success story in the tech scene, for the German tech scene, right?
Right, yeah, very much. I think it is a success story because when you think who has been emerging out of Germany, who really has become global, then I think of SAP in a tech space. And then there's not really the emerging companies, and I think this is why we really think it's a success story.
Yeah, and another success story is RatePAY, not so globally yet, but definitely a champion in Germany. Miriam, can you introduce us and the audience to RatePAY?
Yes, hello everybody, thanks for having me. Yeah, RatePAY, we do payments as well. We are a payment provider, but in another sort of way. So we are a payment provider for alternative and deferred payment methods, and we're specialized on the German-speaking countries. So what we do is actually, in Germany, not everybody here is from Germany, but you might have realized when you take a taxi here or you go in a restaurant, in many places you cannot pay with a card, and this is also a kind of German behavior that a lot of people like to pay differently than with cards or with PayPal. And if you look at statistics, actually you can see that most of the Germans, they prefer to pay with open invoice, with a SEPA direct debit, or also with an installment. And this is what we do, where we come in. So we build the technology to make it really easy for a merchant, easy, frictionless, and with 100% payment guarantee, and very, let's say, nice for the consumers because they get the payment methods that they like. And so we bring them together, both worlds, and close the gap. But we are specialized more on the countries here in the DACH-speaking region. And a provider of payments methods, yes, but we are not on a global scale, but we can also work with global merchants that want to sell in Germany. Therefore, we need partners.
Yeah, and that we are here together on the stage is not just because we all, or you both, work in payments, but you also cooperate with one another. Yeah. Susanne, can you tell us what is your cooperation exactly about, and why did you, as a global company, choose RatePAY as a local or national or a German country-speaking company?
So where we work together is when on a very traditional German method, because many of the consumers, they want to pay once they receive the goods, and then they take the invoice and then pay that invoice. So this is something where we have chosen RatePAY, and that already in the very early times, around 8 years ago. And why did we do so? On the one hand, we want to expand fast, yeah? So does it make sense to do everything on our own? Not really, because there are specialists who have even more knowledge, and this is why then we have checked the market, and there were not that many out there in the market, but there was one specialist, and this is why we had deeper discussions with them. At that time, it was not so common to work with startups, especially in such an industry where you, in a kind of, give a credit to a consumer because the merchant gives something before he receives the money. So that was even more risky, let's say. But on the other hand, you cannot service your customers by ignoring the most common consumer behavior and say, I don't want to deal with it. We just need to look at it and then manage the risk. But we cannot avoid such consumer preference by ignoring them. So this is why we then decided for RatePAY.
Yeah, it was great. No, but also when we started working together, which was in 2011, so it was at the first, it was not only the invoice, it also was on, let's say, a bilateral working partnership, because we came together because we, as RatePAY, we were searching for a bank that would help us with the installment. And at that time, let's say in 2011, we as a small company, being RatePAY, being like 15 people at that time, going around speaking to banks, asking them, we need a bank that helps us to support our dream to do online installments. And all the banks, they said to us, hey, you're crazy, we cannot do that with you. I mean, you said that you build a better risk technology than we do, and no, we're not working with you. And then actually we spoke with Wirecard, and I think, and this was for me the thing that what you said, that I think I'm really proud that we have a German company in the DAX now and really expanding into technology, because Markus Braun at that time, the founder or the CEO of Wirecard, actually he said, I think it's a really great idea, let's go for this. And this is for me, this courage that I realized within Wirecard, I think that was really great. And like if you compare it to the others in the market, nobody said, they were all like, oh no, there could be so much risk with online installments. And so I think that was really great. So we built up a really nice partnership.
It's interesting to see that you used RatePAY as a specialist in a specific product, and RatePAY, from the RatePAY perspective, it was more of an enabling function that Wirecard gave to RatePAY. So interesting to see big companies, global companies listed in DAX, enabling smaller ones and helping grow the ecosystem. I think in the end, all of us will profit and benefit from that. So we have talked about your cooperation specifically. Susanne, Wirecard does not only cooperate with RatePAY, as you said, you're on a global market, so maybe you can talk a little bit more about the global cooperation strategy of Wirecard.
Yeah, I think in a way this is a little bit characteristic what we're doing with RatePAY, because we do that also in other markets. So when I look at Brazil, for example, there we have a huge SME portfolio, so small and medium enterprises, and there we need a huge degree of automation. So then what we do is we onboard them automatically, set them up automatically, but these companies, they also have a huge need to be funded. So we work on the credit side with like a fund tech company, where we do the automated scoring for these SMEs. So it's not really on the consumer side, it's on the SME side, but they are like micro merchants that need some capital. And this is where the market in Brazil, they are built on such mini enterprises. So this is why to us it's a very important growth factor that we facilitate that industry and help them grow, because the products they have, they are great, but they are lacking the way they can finance. I think the situation over there is also a little bit the same, because for such small companies, if they go to big banks, then and there's a huge process behind that doesn't make sense. It needs to be a digitized process, something which is automated, something which is fast, because for many small companies, if you have a huge process behind that doesn't turn out. And so this is why there we have such cooperations. On the other hand, we also work with fintechs on a side where we are the supplier, and there we need to have a developer portal, have some standardized solutions as well. because again there, we don't know whether fintech turns out or not. So, and they want to be fast because they don't want to wait until something is built. So the service which we offer to them must be really standardized. They must be able to implement it on their own without even talking to us in a way. Then they can be successful because then it's the scale that works out. So we are both on the side where we take on some specialists to enrich the service portfolio, but then that's our service portfolio becomes bigger, and then it's easier for other startups that want to focus on their own USP, but finance might not be that one, get that out of a box and deliver to the market faster. And then I think another third pillar is that not only do we work with the fintechs when they use us as a vendor, but also we sometimes are considered still as a startup when we, for example, work with somebody like Crédit Agricole, who use us for something where they say it's too techy, we don't want to go into that. They want to focus on their core business, on treasury banking, on the customer relationship, and outsource anything which is related to the tech implementation or the globalization actually onto somebody like us.
And when we see the ecosystem, I think this is not specific for payments or banking, but also for different aspects of industries, other industries as well. With it growing, with some players growing in the value chain towards other players, cooperations are not always that easy. I think, Miriam, you talked about at the Bitkom podcast about this flexibility you need today when cooperating with partners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, it's also, I mean, the key is to have speed and also to get, let's say, new innovations. And you cannot do everything by yourself because, I mean, it gets so technical and on some sides. And if you just try to build everything by yourself, it takes forever. So we have a lot of partners too. So one of our core, let's say, functionalities is risk management. I mean, that's what it's all about. And we build a lot of the things by ourselves, but we use a lot of partners. Because I mean, we don't try to build an own device tracking system because we use a partner there. We use RiskGuide, and we don't use a real-time fraud tool, a real tool. There we use Frogster, and we get them all in. These partners are again competitors on the one side, but we are also. I mean, we also have a risk management system. But I think the whole ecosystem is really changing. That you have like kind of like where you cooperate and collaborate. It's different than it was before because I think in earlier times it was like you cannot have any cooperation with any partners that you are in a way a competitor with. I mean, we have some, let's say, relationships on our shareholder side where we also have a competitive side to Wirecard, but still, I mean, I think it's all about trust and how you talk to your partners, that you have like a real partnership on an eye level, that you speak to each other, and that it's really helpful because you need them, because you cannot do it by yourself. And for us at RatePAY, it's the most important thing that we focus on what we do good, because otherwise we will never manage the technology. Yeah.
So it's not always that I'm on stage with two visionaries when it comes to payments. So how does payments look like in the future? What's your guess on that? Maybe you want to start, Miriam.
Well, it's very invisible, yeah. And this is also why when you look at the platforms, I mean, if you look at we talked about IoT on the phone. If you look when you look in the future, all the payments will happen automatically. There is no more interaction. If you look today, I mean, more and more payments go in the background already. If you look at Uber, it's a nice example where many people have experienced it already. You close the door and the payment is done. And the thing is, in Germany, you use My Taxi, you still push this button to pay. But it's funny that we had on Payment Exchange, actually, we had the people from My Taxi, and they said they just have in Germany this button to pay, because in Germany, people like to be in the driver's seat of pushing the button to pay. That this is something that is going to change a lot in the future. Yeah.
You think even the Germans might get used to paying invisibly? Cool. So what's your read on the future of payments, Susanne?
I mean, the invisibility, I cannot agree more, that for sure is going to come. If you think of all the voice commerce and the Alexas, where they then propose that you're running out of the mineral water and all the commodities, and that can be then just by you confirming with a yes, then be ordered automatically. So I think that is something which is coming, but I think also that we only think of financial industry and payments and in that narrow space, but we need to extend the user journeys and combine them. So everybody talks about the omni-channel approaches, but there's a lot of things that need to be connected. So you go into a shop, you don't want to carry the things home, then that needs to be delivered. But on the other hand, whatever you have put into your basket in e-commerce, you maybe end up in the shop. But then you find out, take something in addition, that all needs to be linked, and then maybe there's some t-shirt in one size, but not the color you wanted, so that needs then to be delivered to your home. All that needs to be connected, and then whether you pay online or use the payment instrument you have saved online and use that one to be charged when you're in the store, all of that is connected and integrated into many, many user journeys. And I think, and that, all of it invisible. So I think the connectivity is something which we're going to see. And then the payment is a commodity in the background, which will disappear.
But it's all about data then at the end, yeah? To bring the data together, to have artificial intelligence, to make the best out of the data, that you can bring these things together. And also payment is getting more and more deep tech. It's really interesting.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't be the organizer myself, I would blame the organizer for having not more time to talk with you. Unfortunately, time ran out, but I think you will stay here, Miriam, for the whole day, or at least a couple of hours, and Susanne as well. So if you have any questions, please approach Susanne and Miriam. They are open for an exchange. So thank you very much, both of you, and see you later.